It took exactly 12 minutes from when she said, "You'll never leave me," to when I slammed divorce papers on the table. In between was screaming, broken plates, and my son crying for it to end. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm 38 years old, born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. And if you had asked me 5 years ago what my life looked like, I would have told you I had everything I'd ever wanted. A steady career as an IT engineer, a modest two-bedroom house I'd worked years to afford, and a family I thought was built on love and stability. My wife, Lydia, and our son, Ethan. On the outside, things seemed picture perfect. Lydia, 36, was a high school English teacher. People loved her wit, her energy, her ability to hold a room. At barbecues, she was the one telling stories, making everyone laugh. Parents at Ethan's school called her the fun mom. To the world, we were a functioning couple with a bright little boy and a future only headed upward. But houses don't collapse overnight. They crack slowly. Hairline fractures you ignore until the day everything splits open. With Lydia, the cracks began with little comments. A joke about how I wasn't ambitious enough. A dig about how I never knew what wine to order at dinner. I brushed them off as teasing. Then came the shouting, sharp and public. Once at my mother's birthday, she snapped at me across the table. "You can't even carve a turkey right." My father pulled me aside afterward and asked, "Son, you okay?" I lied and said yes. The shouting wasn't the worst part. It was the control. Lydia insisted on handling our bank account, our bills, every decision down to what brand of cereal Ethan ate. If I questioned her, she'd raise her voice until I backed down. It was easier to let her win than to face the storm. Over time, I stopped making choices altogether. I became a ghost in my own house, just trying not to spark another fight. Ethan noticed. He's only 7, but children pick up more than we realize. Whenever Lydia and I argued, he'd scurry to his room, shut the door, and cover his ears. Once, after she'd screamed at me for forgetting to fold laundry, I found him crouched in the closet whispering, "Please stop, please stop." That night, something in me cracked too. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Lydia accused me of planning to leave her, a thought I hadn't even voiced aloud. Her eyes burned as she hissed, "You'll never leave me, Mark." "Do you hear me? Never. I'll ruin you before I let you walk out." I didn't shout back. I didn't slam the door. But in that moment, a decision settled inside me like stone. For months, I'd been quietly preparing, speaking with a lawyer, gathering proof of Lydia's outbursts, keeping copies of our financial records. Divorce papers waited in the glove compartment of my car. I thought I'd have more time. I thought maybe I'd pick a calmer moment, a quieter stage. But fate doesn't wait for convenience. And on that night, 12 minutes after she screamed that I would never leave, our marriage imploded in front of witnesses, shattered glass, and the sound of my son crying for it all to stop. The weeks after Lydia's threat felt like walking across a frozen lake. You never knew which step would splinter beneath you. It started with money. One Friday evening, I logged into our bank account to check if Ethan's school trip fee had been withdrawn. The balance didn't add up. I asked Lydia about it gently, not accusing, just curious. She looked at me like I'd spat on the floor. "Are you spying on me now?" she snapped. Ethan's field trip." She cut me off with a laugh that was sharp enough to sting. "You don't make enough to worry about where it goes. Let me handle it, like always." That night, while she was in the shower, I looked again. $3,200 gone in 2 weeks. Charges from boutiques, salons, and one jewelry store. All on her card, all from the account my paycheck fed. I closed the laptop before she could catch me. My hands shook so badly I could barely click the screen shut. Then came the humiliation. At a neighborhood barbecue, Lydia told a circle of our friends, "Mark thinks fixing printers all day makes him some kind of genius." Isn't that adorable? Everyone chuckled politely, but I felt the flush creep up my neck. When I tried to laugh it off, she added, "Well, at least he's consistent. Mediocrity has its charm." Her words weren't knives anymore. They were grenades tossed casually in public, and each time I swallowed my pride, a little more of me eroded. Ethan bore the brunt of it, too. One Sunday, he spilled a glass of milk at breakfast. Lydia exploded. "Do you ever pay attention? You're just like your father, clumsy and careless." Ethan's eyes brimmed with tears. I pulled him into my lap, shielding him from her fury. "Stop coddling him, Mark," she barked. "You're making him weak." But I could see the truth. She wasn't shaping him into strength. She was breaking him the way she had broken me. That night, I tucked Ethan into bed and he whispered, "Daddy, why does Mommy hate us?" The question carved through me deeper than any insult she'd ever thrown. I kissed his forehead, promising myself, that this cycle wouldn't last forever. The final crack came during dinner with her parents. Lydia raised her glass and said, "If Mark had any ambition, maybe we'd actually live in a decent house instead of this box." Her father chuckled, but her mother looked away. I clenched my jaw, my hands trembling under the table. I wanted to shout, to slam my fist, to make her see the wreckage she was creating. Instead, I excused myself, walked into the garage, and opened the glove compartment. The manila envelope sat there, heavy and undeniable. I wasn't ready to slam it on the table yet. But I knew. The day was coming. It happened on a Wednesday night, one of those evenings where nothing seemed unusual until it all came crashing down. Ethan had finished his homework, and I was helping him build a Lego tower at the kitchen table. Lydia came home later than usual. She dropped her purse onto the counter, the sound loud enough to make Ethan flinch. Her heels clicked like gunshots on the tile as she marched toward us. "Why is he still awake?" she demanded. "He was just finishing up his math," I said calmly. "Bedtime's in 10 minutes. She glared at me as though I'd confessed to treason. "You never back me up, Mark. I say rules matter, and you undermine me every single time." Ethan whispered, "Sorry, Mom," and started gathering his Legos. That should have been the end. But Lydia wasn't looking for an apology from him. She wanted blood from me. "You're pathetic," she spat. "Always playing the nice guy while I'm the bad cop. No wonder he doesn't respect me." I stood up slowly. My chest burned with the urge to finally shout back. But Ethan's eyes, wide, frightened, held me in place. "Lydia, enough," I said, voice low. Her response was to grab the Lego tower and sweep it off the table. Plastic bricks scattered across the floor with a deafening crash. Ethan gasped, his little body trembling. I knelt to gather the pieces, but she wasn't finished. She yanked open the cupboard, pulled out a plate, and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into jagged shards that rained onto the tile. "Don't you dare walk away from me, Mark," she screamed. Ethan burst into tears, clutching my arm. "Please stop." "Please," he sobbed, his voice breaking. Something inside me broke too. For months I had endured the shouting, the insults, the control. But seeing my son curled in terror, begging for peace, this was the line. I guided Ethan toward his room, whispering that everything would be okay. Then I returned to the kitchen. Lydia was pacing like a storm contained in skin, her face red, her breathing ragged. "You'll never leave me," she hissed. "Do you hear me? Never." That was the moment. 12 minutes from her first words to what I did next. I walked to the garage, grabbed the manila envelope, and came back into the kitchen. My hands were steady for the first time in months. I slammed the papers down on the table. The sound cut through the air like a gunshot. Her eyes flicked down, scanning the bold letters at the top. "Divorce petition." The scream that followed rattled the walls, but for once it didn't shake me. The paper sat between us like a live grenade. Lydia's chest rose and fell as if she'd just run a marathon. Her hands shook when she touched the envelope, then jerked away as though it burned. You planned this," she whispered, her voice hoarse. For months, I said flatly. Every insult, every outburst, every dollar you siphoned from our account, it's all documented. I've been waiting for you to give me the final reason. Her face twisted. Reason. I am the reason this family even works. Without me, you'd be nothing. Ethan, still crying in the doorway, whimpered, Daddy? I turned to him, softening my voice. Go to your room, buddy. It's okay, I'll be there soon. He hesitated but finally closed the door. The silence after was suffocating. Lydia exploded. You think you can humiliate me like this? In front of my parents, in court. Everyone will know you're weak, Mark. You couldn't even keep your wife happy. She grabbed another plate, but this time I stepped between her and the cupboard. My voice was steel. No more breaking. No more screaming. You wanted to control everything. Well, here's one thing you don't get to control. I'm done. Her laugh was sharp, manic. You'll crawl back. You always do. Not this time, I said, pushing the papers closer to her. This is over. Within an hour, she was on the phone with her parents, sobbing into the receiver. I could hear her wail. He blindsided me. He's tearing our family apart. Minutes later, my phone lit up, her father calling, then her mother, then her sister. I ignored them all. The next morning, it was worse. My inbox flooded with messages from mutual friends. Some accused me of cruelty, others begged for details. One text from her sister read, How dare you traumatize Ethan like this? Lydia said you're manipulating him against her. Manipulating? I thought back to Ethan's tiny voice pleading for it to stop, his Lego tower crushed under her hand. If protecting him was manipulation, then I was guilty. 2 days later, Lydia's parents showed up at my house. They didn't call first. They just walked in with her behind them, red-eyed but defiant. Her father pointed a finger at me. You've humiliated my daughter. Rip those papers up, Mark, before this goes too far. I didn't flinch. Your daughter screamed at me. She terrorized our son. She's thrown plates at my head. And you want me to pretend nothing's wrong? Her mother's lips tightened. Marriage is work. You don't quit because of arguments. Arguments. I laughed bitterly. This isn't arguments. This is abuse. Lydia leapt forward, trying to snatch the envelope from the counter where I'd left it. I caught her wrist midair. You can't hide this anymore, I said, my voice low. The court will see the evidence. And so will Ethan someday, when he asks why I had to protect him from his own mother. For the first time, she froze. Her eyes darted between me and her parents. The room was thick with silence. Then her father muttered, Maybe we should go. He ushered her out, ignoring her protests. But I knew this wasn't the end. The fallout had only just begun. The weeks leading up to the first court hearing were a battlefield of whispers and accusations. Lydia weaponized every contact she had, friends, co-workers, even neighbors. Overnight, I became the cruel husband in her story, the man who blindsided her with divorce because I couldn't handle a strong woman. But I had my shield. Evidence. Every late-night outburst I'd recorded on my phone. Every bank withdrawal neatly printed. Every photo of shattered plates, bruises on my arm. Even Ethan's quiet journal entry where he'd scrawled in shaky handwriting. Mommy yells too much. Daddy makes it stop. The first time we faced each other in the courtroom, Lydia was radiant in her performance. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue, voice quivering as she told the judge, He's alienating our son. He's cold, controlling, manipulative. Her lawyer leaned into every stereotype. Your Honor, this is a case of a husband trying to destroy his wife's stability by cutting her off financially. Then it was my turn. My attorney, a calm woman named Ms. Patel, slid the stack of files across the table. She pressed play on the first recording. Lydia's voice filled the courtroom, venom dripping. You'll never leave me. I'll ruin you before I let you go." The room went still. Even the judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing. We played 3 more clips, shouts, smashes, Ethan crying in the background. Lydia's face drained of color with each second. Her lawyer objected, but the judge silenced him. "Let the evidence stand." When I took the stand, I didn't rage. I spoke plainly. "I don't want to destroy Lydia. I want peace for my son. He deserves nights without screaming, mornings without broken glass. That's why I'm here." The judge nodded slowly. "Custody evaluation will be ordered. In the meantime, temporary custody granted to Mr. Reynolds." Lydia erupted, standing so fast her chair toppled. "You can't take my son. He's mine." The bailiff stepped forward as the judge slammed the gavel. "Order in the court." That was the day the divide tore open wider. Her parents cut me off completely, sending long, venomous texts accusing me of stealing their grandchild. Half our mutual friends chose her side without asking questions. The other half reached out quietly, some saying, "Mark, we always knew something was wrong." Ethan, though, was the center. At my house, he slept through the night for the first time in months. He colored pictures of dragons and rockets, no longer hiding in his room. His smile was shy at first, but it grew steadier. That alone kept me going. Lydia retaliated by storming into his school one afternoon, demanding to see him without permission. The staff called me. I arrived to find her arguing with the principal, insisting she had every right. But the custody order was clear. When security escorted her out, she screamed across the parking lot, "Mark, you'll regret this. You'll die alone." Parents turned, teachers whispered, and Ethan clung to my side, trembling. I crouched down, meeting his wide eyes. "Not alone, buddy," I said softly. "I'll always have you." The court battles weren't over, but that moment, it was the first time I felt like I was finally winning. Not for me, for him. The custody evaluation lasted 3 grueling months. Psychologists interviewed Ethan, observed our interactions, and reviewed every scrap of evidence. I kept my head down, documented everything, and focused on building a stable routine. School, dinners together, bedtime stories. Lydia, meanwhile, doubled down on chaos. She missed evaluation appointments. She arrived late to supervised visits, sometimes not showing up at all. When she did, she spent most of the hour ranting about me to Ethan, demanding he tell the evaluators that he wanted mommy more. One afternoon, the evaluator asked Ethan gently, "What makes you feel safe?" Ethan's answer was simple. "When Daddy reads to me." When the house is quiet, that line broke something in me, and in the evaluator too. I could see it in her eyes. By the time we reached the final court hearing, Lydia was unraveling. Her once perfect mask was cracked. She accused the evaluator of being biased, accused the judge of hating women, accused me of bribing the system. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably, whispering for her to calm down. She didn't. She pounded the table with her fist. "This is a setup. You'll regret this." The judge had heard enough. He leaned forward, voice steady but sharp. "Mrs. Reynolds, your behavior here and throughout these proceedings shows a lack of stability. Effective immediately, full custody is awarded to Mr. Reynolds. You will have supervised visitation only, pending future review." The gavel struck. Lydia screamed. A sound that was part rage, part despair, echoing in the courtroom. I didn't gloat. I didn't even look at her. I bent down to Ethan, who was sitting in the back with my sister, and whispered, "It's over, buddy. We're going home." That night, we ate takeout pizza on the living room floor, cartoons playing in the background. Ethan laughed at something silly on TV, a real laugh, not the nervous kind I'd gotten used to. For the first time in years, the air in the house felt light. Weeks later, I learned Lydia had moved in with her cousin across town. Rumors said she was drinking heavily, blaming everyone but herself. Her parents tried once more to corner me at a grocery store, accusing me of ruining their daughter's life. I looked them in the eye and said quietly, "She ruined her own. I just refused to let her ruin Ethan's." Then I walked away. Months passed. The chaos faded. Ethan's grades improved. He joined a soccer team. I started jogging again, rediscovering pieces of myself I'd lost in the storm. And one evening, while I tucked him in, Ethan looked up at me and said, "Daddy, it's quiet now." I like quiet. I kissed his forehead, my throat tight. "Me too, champ." "Me too." The broken plates, the screaming, the years of walking on eggshells, it all led to this. A small boy sleeping peacefully in his bed, and a man finally free from the prison of someone else's rage. Lydia once shouted, "You'll never leave me." She was wrong. I left. And in leaving, I found something better than revenge. I found peace.